Hello, listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com's Awards Watch Podcast, episode 335. I'm your executive editor, Ryan McQuade, and joining me today is our editor-in-chief, Erik Anderson.
I actually used to be Erik Anderson. Now, in honor of the Actor Awards, I am just Anderson.
Just E. No, wait. Oh, no, we'll get screwed by E, the channel, and they trademarked that a long time ago. Josh Parham is also with us here today. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that we got yet another chapter of this very interesting Oscar race.
Is it just Parham, Josh, or is it, or how are you doing it, since Eric's just changing to Anderson now?
It's the artist formerly known as Josh Parham,
Cool.
actually.
And I'm the McQuade because I want the in there. And as the actors, but really SAG happened tonight. The SAG Awards happened tonight. We're going to talk about those. Last night was, at the time of recording, was the PGA Awards, the Producers Guild of America. We've had a ton of the Guild Awards since last week, and we're going to break it all down and what it all means as we have 2 weeks to go before the national nightmare that is award season comes to a close. I feel like we are always in that 2 week span here where everybody starts yelling and screaming at each other and we're ready to just log off and it to be over. But then it gets to Oscar week and we're all excited to have it because we love the Oscars in general. So let's do a little bit of catch up. So last time everybody was here, we talked about the BAFTA wins and the uncertainty of what those awards meant in the grand scheme of the race. It feels like there's only one acting prize that is going to be handed out front and center on Oscar night, and that'll be to Jessie Buckley. She was a winner tonight at the SAG Awards, and so that is the only sweeper that we will have this season in the acting categories. Last week, of course, Robert Amaya for I Swear won actor. Sean Penn won for One Battle After Another for Best Supporting Actor, and Wunmi Mosaku won for Best Supporting Actress over at the BAFTAs. And now we head over to SAG. But before SAG happened, the Producer Guild of America happened. And of course, One Battle After Another, our presumed frontrunner, won that award. And then tonight happened, the SAG Awards, which saw Amy Madigan win Best Supporting Actress, which saw Sean Penn win Best Supporting Actor, Jessie Buckley win. And then the last two awards of the night, presented by Viola Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, went to Michael B. Jordan and to Sinners. And not really a surprise there at the end of the awards, as most people predicted Sinners to win that award. But Erik, we now have the big guilds out of the way. And now we have, about at the time of the release of this, we will have 3 days left of Oscar voting. What did you think of the SAG Awards? What did you think of PGA? What did you think of this weekend in the chaos or clarity that it provided?
Well, I mean, there wasn't really much of a surprise at Producers Guild. I think most did expect One Battle to triumph there. We definitely have to take into consideration voting periods. It was the same voting period as DGA. It ended like a day before the DGA Awards. So you have these separate voting bodies voting at the same time, and both went for One Battle. For SAG, you've got about a month of voting. It's one of the great things about SAG as a group compared to like the Oscars is the sheer amount of time that they have to vote. So I think the winter voting started on January 16th. So the Oscar nominations came out on the 22nd. So they had that to kind of reflect on in terms of where they were maybe leaning. And so I think the wins tonight were certainly not surprises. I was leaning to Teyana Taylor or Wunmi Mosaku for supporting actress, but Amy Madigan makes absolute perfect veteran sense. There's nothing about it that was surprising. Sean Penn is who I predicted, so obviously that wasn't a surprise to me. Jesse Buckley, like you said, the only sweeper. And, sometimes we just get years that are just three three people that are just winning the entire season. So you just kind of know what's going to happen. And we only have the one, which is great. And then actor came along, and that's been like the supporting categories, just absolutely all over the place. And it's very funny every year because people will complain if it's boring because the same people are winning. And then they complain that there isn't enough, like,
There isn't consensus.
yes, because it's messing up their predictions. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
pick a struggle, people. What do you want? What do you really
Well, every year is
want
different,
here?
Erik. People bitch about things differently every year,
Everything is different. And I think we can go into greater context of these wins tonight, specifically the Sinners wins and the timing of Oscar voting happening right now, and any aftermath from BAFTA. So there were no surprises tonight. I mean, there was at least that. There were no surprises. Chalamet did not win SAG 2 times in a row, so that history and that stat stays intact.
I saw a stat that Leo is 0 for 8 in the ensemble category.
Yeah, but he
Now.
has I think he has like the most. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. He has the most, and his films have never won Best Ensemble at SAG.
No, definitely not. And
that one stays alive as well tonight.
It keeps the SAG streak alive as well of always having a non-white performer win one of the individual acting categories. That's been since 2019 was the last time that there wasn't.
Yeah, so this decade has seen that change.
Yeah. And, a really neat factoid about Michael B. Jordan is that SAG is the only thing that he's won. If he were to win the Oscar, he would be the first person in the 32 years of SAG actor to win Best Actor with only SAG. So there's a lot of fun to be had with this season.
Yes. Josh, you and I were texting a little bit this morning, post the PGA win. We were talking a little bit about, and Erik and I were this morning as well too, about just momentum, and talking a little bit about one, the craziness of how people have covered these two films online, and how the camps and the flags are planted firmly in the ground. And even when people are trying to be neutral, if you go on their timelines on their social media, they're clearly only tweeting about one film that they care is winning things and not the other. So it's very funny to watch how this is unfolded. And then, Josh, you and I, we talked about that these were most likely going to be the wins tonight. Like these were not, like Erik said, they were not surprises, but they were very interesting to watch on this ceremony. But before I get your reaction, that Josh, a pretty uneven ceremony, I thought, for SAG on Netflix, and really long and really weird choices. Do you have thoughts on the ceremony itself first before you give me thoughts on the wins?
Well, the ceremony was, I mean, first of all, just to have an even split between TV and film was just also kind of odd to me. Like, I understand there's only like 5 categories for film, but even still, just the very even split was odd. And yeah, I found that structure didn't flow all the time. The comedy bits were weird. I don't know why we got a live performance. Like at one point, it was a lovely performance, it was a great presentation, but I just didn't understand why we were doing it. But I mean, to be honest with you, I've always found this ceremony to be kind of odd to begin with. I think the amount of awards they have to give out in the time frame just never really made sense in the 2-hour format. They always felt like they were rushing, and now they have more room on Netflix, but now it's like they don't know how to contain it that well either. And I don't know. The ceremony I've always found to be weird, and I didn't think this one was that great either. So,
Josh,
not a big fan.
I remember back in during the pandemic when they did like the 1 hour telecast. And I swear to God, I just thought that was brilliant because they only have like 13 awards and the speeches are like a minute and a half piece. And if you throw in a lifetime achievement or if you throw in, you can get this all done in about an hour, hour and a half. You really can. And this thing was like 2.5 hours long. This thing was so unnecessarily long. And yeah, and Critics' Choice did the same thing too this year. And I think it's a terrible idea of putting all the television awards up front and then putting all the film awards in the back. And it's just like that builds no drama on the night whatsoever. That's like putting all the technical awards at the top of the telecast at the Oscars and having all the acting ones be the final one. It's like nobody should do it like that. That's a terrible, terrible way to do a show. And I thought that all the bits that Kristen Bell did just fell flat. I thought a lot of the camera work was bad too. Like just
Awful.
like nobody
Why
knew
was
where to
everybody
look.
shot from underneath?
Yeah, it just very
like
very
you even made
weird.
Jacob Elordi look 5 feet tall. What are you doing?
They really did, and it felt like everybody up there was super awkward and didn't want to do it, and also didn't seem like they were prepared to do it. And so it was just, and yeah, I agree with you, Josh. The most unnecessary music performance ever. It almost felt like, and I don't know if they knew or the producers knew or not about if Sinners was going to win or whatnot, but it felt like we got to do something for Sinners in case something doesn't happen. And it felt so weird just it just was like kind of unnecessary because they already had a song playing over the in memoriam, and
it happened after the in memoriam.
Yeah, and it was like that was perfectly fine. It felt like something the Grammys would do, not SAG. And
yeah,
so
I didn't understand why it was there. If it had been like part of the in memoriam, then okay, I would get it. But they concluded, and then everybody just came on stage to do a performance. It's like, what is this for? I just don't understand why we are taking up time to do this right now.
Surprised
I think in theory that the idea would be to have something in between, the sadness of an in memoriam and, another award. But, it's also, there are commercials there. It's not.
It's so weird.
Yeah, that usually is the break for the in memoriam.
That is the
they
break,
have that,
always.
and then it's the commercial. And like,
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they did that.
But Josh, your thoughts on the wins tonight?
I agree with Erik that I don't think many of these were unexpected. Even if I wasn't predicting some of the winners, they were ones that I heavily considered would happen, especially with a group like this. I think you definitely need to take that into account. We had Sinners penciled in to win ensemble for months, so that didn't shock me. I think this group would respond to people like Amy Madigan and Michael B. Jordan. I definitely thought that was possible. And after Sean Penn won at BAFTA, everybody was looking at that happening now too. So, and yeah, Jessie Buckley, the sweeper. The irony of finally getting a Best Actress sweeper, and then it's the other acting categories that I have to worry about now. It's like they giveth and taketh away. So, but yeah, on the whole, I don't think I got much clarity from these awards. It really just sort of gave me everything and I'm at the same spot that I really was previously. Maybe some contenders aren't as high anymore, but in terms of who I will settle on for the winner, I don't know if I got that much more information, just a little bit more.
So I want to ask about picture, because that's going to be the thing that I think everybody and their Twitter account is going to talk about the next 2 weeks. And really, they're going to talk about it in the next 4 days, 3 to 4 days, as the voting is still going on. And they are going to talk about that over the course of this Oscar season, the film that has won the most Best Picture prizes has been one battle after another. It has won Critics' Choice, National Board of Review. It won the Critics' Trifecta. Most of the critics guilds and groups that it's won those prizes. It won the Golden Globe for comedy musical. It won the BAFTA, and it just won the PGA. And so, in a no, if you want to say that that's done, it is done because it's got a lot of great things on its side. And then there's going to be the contingent that it's going to talk about that this SAG ensemble win happened in the middle of the vote, just like you were saying, Erik. The PGA voting did happen like a month ago. But the win result happened during the Oscar voting, much like the SAG win tonight for Sinners happened. And so how much does the Sinners win, the Delroy Lindo speech, the reaction in the room, which I've heard a lot about reactions in the room this year more than pretty much any other freaking year to justify, I think, some pretty gonzo picks by a lot of people, especially even picks going into tonight, but really for Oscar predictions. How much do you factor in that there was genuine love and support for Sinners, that the win resulted in, and Michael B. Jordan's win resulted in 2 standing ovations, along with pretty much every acting win on the night, and that Delroy Lindo's speech was very good? How much does that factor into this is enough to overtake a film like One Battle After Another that hasn't stumbled along the way, and we also didn't expect to win this award tonight? Like, it would be one thing if we just assumed One Battle After Another was going to win this, lock it in, bing, bang, boom. That was not the case. So now that these have happened, how much does that clarify Best Picture? Was actually the PGA just the thing that clarified it all and it's done and we don't have to talk about that? Or because Sinners is going to have an acting win somewhere, and it looks like One Battle After Another is going to have an acting win somewhere. They're both going to have screenplay. We can presume that Paul Thomas Anderson's going to have director. Does that open up the possibility that we genuinely could be looking at the first time of a split since Coda and Power of the Dog? Erik?
Well, I mean, that situation isn't really.
I know it's not the same comparison.
Comp,
no, it's not a good comp. I'm just saying that was the last.
But
no, that was the last time we've had a split. That's what I'm saying.
I have not really entertained or validated, I should say, the idea of a picture director split this season, because these are 2 films and directors of singular vision, and that's just not how the splits work. That's just traditionally not how and why they happen. So to me, it was either always going to be, Sinners and Coogler or One Battle and Anderson. It still doesn't make any sense that there would be a split. And if there is this level of passion for Sinners, like those last 2 awards showed by this audience, especially for Jordan, then why would Coogler not just win as well? Why would it not completely just go his way? So it's making for a very fun season, but it's, I think any of us are gonna get ourselves a little stuck by trying to attach too much like if then to it, and sometimes things are completely out of the scope of that. But everyone's kind of just been getting themselves tied in knots. Even last night after the PGA win, people were changing their SAG predictions to One Battle winning Cast Today because, like, sure, why not? But there, again, I have become so less interested in predictions and much more the reverse engineering of it. It's much more interesting and fun once something is done to kind of break that down. But Yeah, I mean, I can't possibly deny that there isn't an enormous amount of passion for Sinners. And in years past, we have also seen the difference between passion and respect and what that means at the Oscars. And that is absolutely in a scenario in which Sinners can win. There's clearly passion driving the love of that film.
That is true. I would say that there is an equal amount of passion for One Battle After Another. Its award season haul has been pretty dominant and pretty upfront and pretty consistent until tonight. And even still tonight, there was like the back of my mind, I was thinking, does it walk away with nothing? Does it blank? Does it pull in a Nora? Does it, not walk away with a win? And it still
That would have
won.
been tough with a record 7
Yeah.
nominations.
And it
for
still
that to have
won.
happened.
Yeah, but it still won for Sean Penn. So it's not like that movie, which is crazy that Sean Penn is the lone winner for that film. I think a couple
He
months
refuses to show up.
and he
Okay.
refuses to show up. It's kind of actually at that point, it's kind of a little bit of a respect to the game of just doing that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that there is. I think both films have passion. I think both films are critically acclaimed. I think one actually is a little bit more critically acclaimed than the other, One Battle After Another. I think that the BAFTA contingency and the international contingency seems to very much favor One Battle After Another. With the BAFTA response, the César Award win that happened recently this past weekend, and then the Producers Guild. And these are been, and it's done extremely well outside. And, One Battle After Another has done really well at the guilds and has showed up at every guild. Even this one tonight. It may not have been the dominator at all these guilds, but it has still shown up and been represented in one way or another. But Josh, I mean, your thought process about this, I would be very fascinated about this because we were going back and forth. But Josh, where do you see Best Picture now? Because that response tonight, you could see it. We all watched it. It was very loud. We've also seen. I watched the response via someone's phone when the Producers Guild happened last night, and it was pretty unanimous and pretty cheerful in that room as well. It wasn't like, standing ovation and crazy and like, and whatnot, but also, it was still, people were very happy with it and have been very happy with this film. So where do you see Best Picture right now after these wins? Or is it just kind of much ado about nothing because SAG marches to the beat of his own drum sometimes?
Well, I wouldn't say like completely dismiss it because yes, you could clearly hear that crowd and the very warm response that it got when it won those two prizes. I think that is definitely something you need to take into account. But it is a game of expectation at the same time. And because we all figured that Sinners was going to do very well with this guild and was probably going to win this prize, and as the days went on and Chalamet looked weaker, Michael B. Jordan became a very viable person to win here as well. So for me, the calculus still hasn't changed at all. Like my feeling has always been, in order for you to believe that Sinners is going to overtake One Battle, you have to believe that people are looking for a reason not to vote for One Battle.
Thank you.
And I don't find that I have had that reason yet. Like, yes, Sinners is very well liked, very much so, has a lot of passion behind it. But that passion, I do not think has canceled out what is already there for One Battle, which has already done so well at the guilds. Looks like it's winning director, an acting prize, and screenplay, probably some below the line stuff too, that could easily go to Sinners, but doesn't really look like it is. Like, people fall into this cycle all the time this season where Sinners does something well and everybody rushes to it and like forget that One Battle just did the exact same thing.
Correct.
And like even the PGA, I understand the voting is different, but to me, the voting that happened like right when we were talking about the 16 nominations that Sinners got, and I think talk about it possibly winning Best Picture was even higher earlier during that voting process. And I think that if it was going to win, it actually would have been better at that point. So I I hear the arguments, and I'm not trying to be dismissive because I do think you need to take them into account. But I take everything into account. And just because Sinners won an award that we all thought it was going to win does not mean I think it's going to suddenly overtake a movie that has done so well with the Guilds and other precursors so far. I just don't see any evidence to switch at this point.
I totally agree with you, Josh. I'm just being the moderator and asking questions. Because my genuine thought is that when the PGA happened, I think the Best Picture is over. I think that preferential ballot win sealed it up. And I thought that tonight, the only way that I could see a possible Sinners win would be if it won 3, possibly 4 awards. And I think the Madigan win kind of cancels out the BAFTA win a little bit. It makes it a very interesting conversation about that. It does bring up, even though, like, I know a lot of people didn't want to bring up the Wumi Musaka home turf. Did that play into a factor there over at BAFTA? Kind of brings it up a little bit because Sean Penn carried over from there. And I do think that the Michael B. Jordan win is very interesting. I think the conversation, and this is a conversation we're going to have here now, and we're going to have it in the next couple of weeks as we lead up to our final predictions, is what the hell has happened to Marty Supreme? What's happened to Timothy Chalamet? What's happened to a movie that blanked at the BAFTAs and blanked again here at SAG? And after Critics' Choice and Golden Globe seemed to go in his favor, and he had his partner there. He's brought his mom to 2 events, and he's walked away empty-handed. And it doesn't really make much sense because at the time of all these nominations, Murray Supreme had extreme momentum, and it's died. Is that a Chalamet thing? Is the Josh Safdie piece? Does that factor into any of this? Is it just passion from other films surfacing up? I think it's a little bit of everything. But I think one battle after another, we all assumed that was going to win some acting prize. Early in the season, very early in the season, when I saw the film, and Erik and I were talking that weekend and I first saw it, I just kept going back to, like, Sean Penn feels like a classic Oscar win, even though he had 2. An Oscar win of, like, most of this generation of voters and people don't know of his problems or probably remember that at one point he was one of our great actors on the planet, and he's playing this insane.
He still is.
And he still is. And
that hasn't changed.
Like, annoyingly so.
Annoyingly so, yes.
I mean,
but the thing about it is he's playing an extremely over the top, but also very, like, much in a performance that I could see them going for. I haven't seen them go for it in a hot minute, because they've gone with some, with some more emotional actors over the last couple of years. But he is a classic supporting actor win. And, there was the rumblings of Tiana Taylor and that character being divisive. And Leo there hasn't been that feeling yet to anoint him for his second one. And Erik, you mentioned this last week with Benicio del Toro of, he was the early critics, person,
yeah.
but we talked about
he still is. He has like 22 or 23 wins, and Penn and Skarsgård have like 12.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. But
it doesn't have to make sense.
No,
though.
They
shouldn't have to align.
No, they shouldn't always have to. But it does tell us things. And I do think,
I've always thought that the critical push for Benicio early on was more so to get him nominated. Because he wasn't really on the radar at first. It was all about Sean Penn, and everybody walked out that movie being like, "Oh, I love Benicio so much." I think the critics rallied behind that performance to get him on the radar, and that was the accomplishment, was just to get the nomination. Really,
that's exactly what happened with Madigan, though, because nobody was being very serious about it until a couple of articles came out. I think the one that I remember the first is Louis Peitzman and at Vulture.
Yeah.
Made a genuine article plea that she should be taken seriously. And this was at the end of summer. And it clicked because sometimes voters really need permission before they will pull the trigger on something.
Yeah.
And something like Madigan is an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan, you mentioned Marty Supreme and how spectacularly it's flopping.
Crashed and burned
But
the
it
last 2 weeks.
began January, began the year with those 2 wins for Chalamet, like you mentioned.
Globe and CCA back-to-back weeks.
Absolutely. These are early voters. These happen in December. They start in December. Both journalist organizations. We have to always make sure and remember to say that the Golden Globes are journalists.
Correct.
It's industry in the same sense that Critics' Choice is, because they're televised, and that's why we put them on the same level. But both of those are right below SAG and BAFTA as actual industry. But what I wanted to kind of get to with that is where we were in the beginning of the conversation about timing, because him being able to win those in early January with this early voting, and then not now. How does that work? How does that make sense?
It doesn't make
sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense with.
Or is it that those groups, because they are early, like to feel like tastemakers or predictors, and then we get to the actual industry that has a say and they go a different way?
Well, I will say that its nomination haul at both BAFTA and the Oscars were very, very strong. I mean, it did underperform a little bit at the Oscars, though, and it did well here with the guilds. I do think, though, there was momentum with Marty at that time in late December, early January. The film had come out. It was a huge hit.
It's a big hit.
It's the biggest hit in A24's history
relative to its scale and
to its scale. Yes, exactly.
Budget
it's a hit.
And all the things.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. It's like, he just went on a massive media tour, and through that time, though, the industry can take a look at that and has the time to assess, do they like something like that or not? Critics were eating it up left and right. Like, there are so many apologists and people that want something like that, or heck, even something like the Sinners crowd that we've been mentioning here, or the One Battle crowd. They want things to happen. And I think Chalamet is a fascinating case of an entire season where you presume someone is a front runner. I mean, he's had a full year where people thought he was the front runner, from when he won that SAG award and lost last year to Adrian Brody, and that he would be back with this film and have the whole run again. And then it's very interesting. Those speeches that he gave at the Critics' Choice and at Globes were a very different energy and a very different kind of person, it seemed like, than the person building up Marty Mauser. It's almost like someone told him, "Hey, do you want to win? You need to, put on a tie and smile and not be so crazy." And it weirdly looks like it's had a negative effect, because even though he's had a career retrospective at the age of 30 at the American Cinematheque, and he's had sold out Q&As with him left and right. There's the insane one that Scott Mantz did that we talked about last week. And people were just flocking the stage. When it's come to the vote, especially at a place where he won last year, it didn't matter. And I think SAG isn't the one that I'm confused on, because, like, no one's ever won back-to-back SAG. No one has still won back-to-back SAG. And a lot of people
in the same category.
But there was a coin flip mentality between him and Michael B. Jordan, and it's a very populous place. But the BAFTA win still is the one where you just kind of, even if it, yes, is a movie that's hometown and whatnot, it felt like that would have been a place where, if serious Oscar voters are going to take him seriously, then they would have just given it to him. It wouldn't have mattered about that film, that small film that was there. And they didn't. and they've had every chance now to anoint that film, to push it into the right places it needs to in other categories. And then there's the continuing best actor not carrying a supporting performance stat. There's tons of things that being a movie star you just can't overcome. And I know people think stats and statistics don't mean anything, but it always is funny when it comes back around. And then we look back on those stats and like, yeah, they kind of played out the right as they usually sometimes do. Now stats are always changing, as Erik and I and Josh and everybody says, but it is fascinating when you look at Chalamet and how everyone I talked to back in September or October that had seen the film and then in November were so confident on him. And they were confident on Chalamet, and they were confident, obviously, on like Ariana Grande and supporting actors, and we all know how that turned out. It's just very fascinating to see these very early front runners struggle, and someone like him struggling too, while the movie has become, like you said, Erik, a big hit. You know, Josh, were you going to say something about Chalamet?
I just think that it is definitely a situation, at least to me, that Marty Supreme, I think, kind of maybe peaked early.
Yeah.
And
which is crazy for a Christmas release.
It is. But I mean,
how do you do that?
I think
they're showing you how, I guess.
I think it is a case where people like were very impressed with the craft of that film. The fact that Chalamet was able to carry it at such a young age, and it was a real test of his movie star status. And I think watching that movie make money was like, okay, yeah, then it's the real deal. We'll give it all these nominations. But then you walk away from it and it's like, oh yeah, he is a movie star. And we make movie stars wait.
Yeah, we do, like, especially male movie stars.
Remember that now.
Yeah, exactly.
He really is in his Leo era.
He really is, because I mean, this is what I said all season, even though I was leaning more towards Leo than like something like Michael B. Jordan. And we'll talk about alternatives for a second, but like Chalamet hasn't had that big snub yet. I think, you know, like one where it's like the history books and people will talk about it on maybe AwardsWatch retrospectives, where you know, they're saying like, how did he not win for this? This was and you know how like Leo had one has had multiple of those. Wolf of Wall Street is one that people talk about a lot.
I mean, Leo has things that he didn't get nominated for that people think are
Django Unchained.
Atrocities.
Yeah, exactly.
All kinds of things.
And so this one, based off of just how people love Marty Supreme, fits that bill to a T. About just like and it'll be very funny to see who wins this thing. And that's actually where I kind of want to go, because I do think Chalamet is out of this a little bit. Maybe he's in third place.
I don't know. You can't win either industry prize like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
For
really
that
tough.
performance. Nah.
But then it's like, okay, Michael B. Jordan won SAG, and obviously I don't think he was ever going to probably win BAFTA there, but he was nominated. And then this whole weekend, Josh, Erik, there's just been this guy that's been lingering and presenting and at all the parties and hosting.
Don't do this, Ryan.
And I've just been seeing
Don't fall into that trap.
And it's the lingering Wagner Moura just hanging around. And I just say it's a very interesting year, and every year is different.
Let me actually say something about that.
And I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit.
Well, because let me tell you something. I remember back in, I think even November, I had The Secret Agent in my 10 for picture predictions. And the reason why is actually because I had a sneaking suspicion, even then, that Wagner Moura could actually do it.
Yeah.
And the reason is because if you look at who normally wins Best Actor, it's usually somebody who is like such a dominating figure of the movie. Like you think about the movie, you think about that performance. And it's somebody like that, usually somebody who's also then older too, and then their movie has to be up for picture. Well, Chalamet is dominant, but obviously kind of young and has the slap the stud mentality, which honestly you can kind of even apply to Michael B. Jordan a little bit. And if you're
Very much
going
so.
all in on SAG just being so much more in the tank for this movie than usual, I don't think that's a guarantee for him. And Leo, I always felt like that performance just was not the central figure of that movie. It's more like an ensemble.
Yep.
That's always skeptical about him.
Mhm.
And Hawk's not in a Best Picture nominee. So you got Wagner Moura, who is the whole story about the secret agent. And he's a little bit more established too than somebody like Fernando Torres last year. He has worked in American productions. He's a little bit more connected within the industry. I'm just saying, I think that even though, yes, he only has the Globe and he missed the industry stuff, I just think that in a field like this, that it's looking for a passionate pick somewhere, I actually think Wagner Moura makes a lot more sense on paper to me than it would otherwise, despite him missing some other stuff. So I actually do think that that is a viable contender there for Best Actor.
You also have to think about too with SAG is that we have these SAG winners, but the outright rejection of international films in this SAG year with these winners has to play somewhat of a factor into the wins themselves too, because there are Wagner Moura and the sentimental values of actors that are in the acting fields that replace a lot of these actors, and we don't know how those. We kind of know how some of those voters are going to feel like. They're going to lean towards sentimental value and clearly the international voters over at BAFTA and some of these places, they lean towards even something like One Battle After Another. Not saying those siphons off votes from Sinners or any of these other actors. I'm just saying is that it is we're talking about four different nominees in those categories, 5 different nominees, and that's a significant enough, especially in tight races like actor, supporting actress is 2 replacements, supporting actor, and those are wide open races, and I think that you can't not factor in any win on the board or an unfactor win. Now, to Eric's point, that's only Globe. And it's very Fernando Torres. And then I'm still here last year. It won international feature. It's not going to win that this year. Secret Agent's not going to beat sentimental value. That seems pretty much locked up at this point for the win there. And so every year's different. But, if there are people that don't want to vote in terms of the international section, they don't want to vote for Michael B. Jordan, they don't want to vote for Timothy Chalamet, it does open up, I would have said Leonardo DiCaprio, but that's clearly, I don't think, on the table anymore. It does open up votes to just go to all these different places. And it does, I think it's not as simple as, well, Michael B. Jordan won SAG and it's over. Because the other thing that you have to remember with SAG too is the after part. I think you have to remember that. I think you have to remember that they open up to this voting body that's also very populist. And the top 3 awards last year with Demi Moore, Timothy Chalamet, and Conclave did not carry over from the Oscars. And I think that there's going to maybe a little bit of that too. So it's overvaluing these wins as well, even though, yes, there are passion and people cheering in a room. There was cheering in a room a year ago when Chalamet won, and there were so many people who were like, it's his time. And then Adrian Brody won. And then, Demi Moore, how could you deny her? She's the veteran actress. She's the type of person, like Erik said about veteran actors, is the type of performance SAG would give it to. And they gave it to Honora, when in the close race there. And then Conclave, yeah, I mean, like Conclave had won all the ensemble prizes during the year, but the best picture prizes were going to Honora. And that's very much the same thing with One Battle After Another and Sinners in the split this year, even at somewhere like, and I know it's Critics' Choice, but as an example, one of the first awards on the night was the Casting and Ensemble Award, and that went to Sinners. And then at the end of the night, Best Picture was given to One Battle After Another. So it's very interesting. Erik thinks I'm totally stupid for bringing up Wagner Moura right now.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Because I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's
then okay, let's talk about it.
Okay.
And I'll ask you, but I'll ask Josh. Do you think that Secret Agent is winning another Oscar? Let's posit that Moura is winning. Is it winning anything else?
I actually still think it could win international feature. I understand that obviously you take a look at the nomination haul, and yes, on paper it seems like Sentimental Value is more well liked, but as we saw at BAFTA, that did not translate into any wins outside of the best non-English language film. And BAFTA, I just think, does tend to skew towards their European picks. I just think that
with
is
English.
something that they favor. So I, to me, think that Wagner Moore could still win and that be the only thing, but I also still think it's not completely out of the realm of possibility it could take international feature too.
It's definitely second place for me there. I think it's going to go to Sentimental Value at this point, but I have been having that. I mean, I'm still here one because of a massive controversy. I also think too with Amelia Perez, and I think that if the Carlos Sofia Gascon stuff doesn't happen, I don't know if it beats out Amelia Perez. There hasn't
To
been
Josh's point earlier, something comes out when you have something to vote against.
Yeah,
and people voted against Amelia Perez to vote for.
That's a good point.
That's very true. That's very true.
I want to continue this because, I mean, I've seen the same thing. I mean, like literally just tonight, people are like, well, now the race is between Michael B. Jordan and Wagner Moura. And I kind of want to like shake people like a British nanny shaking a baby. Let's look at history about who and when a best actor winner is the sole winner for their film. Will Smith, a sweeper.
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne, a sweeper. Forrest Whitaker, a sweeper.
Yeah.
That is not what's happening here.
No.
A best actor winner generally will bring something else with them, even if it's just one more award.
Yeah.
But there's nothing, and it's in
well, that would then make only
I don't want to lock myself into something.
Yeah.
After saying 20 minutes ago that we lock ourselves into a mindset, but I find it very, very difficult path, even in a split year for Moura. He would still be third for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's third for me as well. Honestly, if I'm going to move Chalamet down because he's not going to have a win, neither is Ethan Hawke. That's crazy pants. Whoever had that as a best actor winner the last month or so is a crazy person. But I think Timmy's 4 because he's not going to have an Oscar win. Wagner Moura is there at third. And I still think Leo is second because One Battle After Another is going to have wins. And it's going to have potentially another actor win to go with it. And I'm not saying that like Leo's going to win because he hasn't won diddly shit.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Has there ever been a best actor win that's not won a single of those precursors?
So I'm just saying,
like, at least Wagner has got a win on the board.
No, that's very true.
Yeah, so that's why those 3 are the only 3.
And he has a win in a televised award against Michael B. Jordan. Yes, though, that contingent over at the Golden Globes, they have a big Brazilian contingent inside their voting body.
Let me be perfectly clear about this. Like, I fully admit that this would be more of a vibes selection, and I haven't even committed to doing it right now.
You gotta love the vibes. We love vibes.
Yeah, but I think sometimes vibes, like in a divided race, kind of, that might be the determining factor. Like I said, I'm not even committed to it right now, but it's just the fact that it's been on my mind for months at this point. Like I said, it even propelled me to put The Secret Agent into my Best Picture lineup before it was fashionable to do so. So I just think that performance, to me, fits a type of Best Actor win that I can see translating. I don't know if I will commit to it, but I'm just giving it more entertainment just because I feel just an instinct about it overall, despite, yes, a lot of trends and stats that it has to break in order to do so.
I mean, that's why for me it's the opposite, because there's nothing about it that fits any best actor archetype at all. None.
No,
but
I know
vibes, sure, absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to go off of Michael B. Jordan,
I
and
appreciate
he's
the
just
tone, yeah.
your slam dunk winner.
Totally.
To your point, Erik, I think at this point there's going to be massive history in that category because, and a stat
Yes, there will be.
breaker because
No matter what happens, really.
Yeah, because if Michael B. Jordan wins, like you said, no one's ever just won that with just SAG. If Leo wins that, he would have won with nothing. You know, Chalamet would have won with critics' prizes and no guild wins. Ethan Hawke would have won with nothing, even though
And
he's
no
not
Best
winning.
Picture nomination.
And no Best Picture nominee, which would yes, you're right, which would be the weirdest one of all. And Wagner Moura again would be the only one he would have his Globes. So, like, yeah, it is a massive, wide open contest, and we don't know how this win is going to affect. It could, give people, like you said, Erik, the permission to vote for Michael B. Jordan. It could give the people that are like, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to be Timothée Chalamet. I gotta surge, or maybe it does open up to like, man, I met Wagner Moura in an event the other night. You know what I mean? And because he was at like the what was he was at the editing awards, and he was at a Train Dreams event, and he's been like everywhere presenting.
Yeah.
And
him
they like
him
him,
and
he's
Kate
got
Hudson were at 3 different events on the same
insane.
night.
They're still doing stuff, and they're still campaigning. Leo's shooting a movie, so it's most likely just not Leo. It's most likely down to those 3. And so it's so very
Leo
interesting.
is not even a factor.
No, he's
the difference between 3 and 4 and 5 is a chasm.
Yeah,
It's the Mariana Trench.
It really is. And so I think it'll be very fascinating in that category. I still think supporting actors is a very interesting category as well too. The Madigan win tonight is a big win for her. But you're talking
made
about
total sense here, though. To be honest,
makes total sense.
That was one of those things where, as soon as the presenters came out, I was like, "It's going to Amy Madigan. Should have picked her.
Should have picked her." But also, Amy Madigan wins this. That film has no other awards that it'll be up for as well. If you're going to play that game,
Yeah.
Wumi Musaka, she only won BAFTA. That's a big win, but it felt very. I don't know. It felt very hometown win, and it kind of feels like that still.
I don't know about that.
Tiana Taylor, she's in the Best Picture film, but she only would have Globe. And then there's the faction of people that think that because Inga was a front runner at a certain point and she won like National Board of Review or something, that people
When was she a front runner?
There were a lot of people that thought that could happen. Her and Stellan, I saw that.
They thought it could happen, but and look, I love that performance, but
early in the season,
where do you go? Again, that's another category that has only 3 possibilities.
Yeah. We'll meet Tiana Taylor and Amy Madigan.
Yeah, and entertaining anything else is just noise.
No, I don't think the sentimental value performances will win that category. But they are very different performances that than the ones that we had at SAG with Odessa and Ariana Grande.
Madigan would be a really exceptional winner here. I mean, in many ways, obviously just a really fun, great one. But you got to be careful too about SAG going 4 for 4. It's a very, very rare thing. It's very rare. It is very rare.
Everything Everywhere All at Once here was one of the only times.
All 4 acting winners and the cast winner are from successful films. Even Hamnet, domestically with only 22 million, worldwide still it's closing in on 100 million.
One Battle,
huge international and domestic. Weapons, huge box office. Sinners, huge box office. SAG is a very populist organization.
It goes back to the after stuff, and that's what I was talking about earlier.
That's why Rose Byrne didn't win here. So all those anonymous ballots, cool, great. That's so awesome that you created this narrative to try and take a race that was
done
in one direction and try and fuck people up with it. I hate all of that anonymous ballot nonsense because of that exact reason.
But Erik, Sean Penn avoided the vote split, and that's how he won.
When I saw that, I swear to God. I should get like a medal tonight for not
Like burning down Twitter?
No, for not making just a direct quote tweet of that tweet. The funny thing about it is that when we were doing the whole TV awards, 3 awards came from categories that had 2 people from the same show. It happens all the time.
Nobody fucking
there
said
is no
shit
such
there.
thing as vote splitting until it fits the narrative you need it to fit.
Absolutely. It's super wild. Josh, any other things you want to talk about here? I know that we're trying not to give all of our thoughts because we're going to have final predictions and stuff to marinate on. Supporting actress. I mean, it is kind of great that you get to just kind of rest easy on the category that you're always putting your name on under there, buddy, with Best Actress.
Yeah, but we have drama in the other category, so we've made up for it. But yeah, Best Actress is done. I would actually say Supporting Actor is also done too. Like that's Sean Penn. He won the 2 industry
supporting
prizes.
Supporting actor stuff.
Supporting actor. I think that's finished. I think those 2 we can put to bed.
Do people, Josh, can I ask you about that? The overwhelming sentiment online for that performance, which, Josh, I know you're not the biggest fan of. I really like that performance a lot. I think it's fantastic from Sean Penn, and a perfect character in that film. It does feel like, man, of the acting wins. Like, people are so mad about that this is happening. But it does, like I said earlier, it does make a classical sense in this terms of a win.
Yeah, no, it
does make total sense. I mean, it's not what we want. I mean, but you're still going to have, with the Sinners Ensemble win and Delroy Lindo win, you're going to have the Delroy Lindo is going to win.
Yeah,
doesn't that kind of get put to bed now with the Sean Penn?
Which I don't know. You said that he gave a good speech at the end. I did not actually think that was a good speech.
I didn't think it was a good speech.
Listen, I'm just trying to be nice. All right, I'm just.
It wasn't Woody Harrelson rambling bad, but it wasn't good.
It was
unfocused, which I understand because he was supposed to have prepared remarks and it didn't happen. Okay, whatever. Like I get it, but I did not really feel like his improvising at that moment was that effective for me. I actually
wasn't very good at critics. His prepared speech at Critics' Choice wasn't very good either. If we're going to be honest, it would not be a good Oscar speech. Going to put that on the board.
Yeah, if that was the audition for an Oscar speech, I didn't think he passed that one very well. So I'm not.
That's a variety fail and a miss.
His I'm an actor opening wasn't great either.
No.
Yeah,
and I'm not trying to like shit on Delroy Lindo. But there was nothing. There was nothing that came out of his mouth tonight that was like,
okay, you got to make a case.
Wow,
you got to make a case for yourself.
But the case is being made mostly online by people that want something to happen that's only happened once in history. Sure. You know what I mean? I mean, they're allowed to happen.
We all have agendas, Ryan.
No, I know.
Whether they are quiet or loud. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you are
but this one seems
a wannabe pundit or you have a professional job as one. Everybody has been they have drawn their lines of where and who they want to win and where that crosses advocacy to something very, very different. This is a there's a lot about this year that has been kind of distasteful, and that is one thing.
Well, I think
I'm not enjoying too much.
Well,
is that slightly blurred line. I have my favorites, obviously, but
you do.
I mean, do I? Do. But I'm not predicting Hamnet to win Best Picture, am I? No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not finding a path for it because I want it to happen.
No,
but there's a whole lot of that going on, and you sort of the cloud of it becomes very thick.
Oh, I know, because
it's hard to get out of.
I'm Josh and I's favorite film of the year was One Battle After Another. So was Sophia. So was half the damn people on this website.
And yet I never knew that. This is news.
Breaking news.
Right.
But
now.
But like Sinners was in my top 10. And the way you would think that people thing I talk about Sinners is that I think it's the worst movie ever made in the history of film. And it's not. I'm just looking at the race, the way that it has presented itself. But tonight, I mean, there is massive passion for that. Josh is absolutely right for that film. It is in second place. It has picked up a lot of awards. So has one battle after another. And it has felt that there is a massive disingenuous way in which one film has been covered and another has maybe, and it has actually been this entire year. Both of those films have been covered differently. And now there's kind of like a reversal of that, like an overcompensating for the fact that they were covered so differently, like from the box office standpoints and what they mean to the culture. And it's like, it's fine, whatever, you want to do that. But then there it goes to a sense of overcorrection to then delusion. And I think that has been really dangerous because I think that there's been a lot of, like you're saying, Erik, advocacy, a lot of hope predicting, kind of wanting this to be a bigger race than it is in certain categories,
And
especially
some
the
people
top
have
one.
flat out admitted that.
And they
So,
fucking admitted it,
you
and they have
search that
jobs.
yourselves, but we're not making this up. There are people
No.
that actually admitted that they are kind of doing more advocacy work. And if that's what you want to do, fine. But like, just acknowledge that.
But
that
then
is
it
different
becomes
than
frustrating.
Real predictions.
It becomes frustrating when then wins go on the board. We have actual facts and evidence to support stuff. And then they're like, well, you know what? It's all just for fun and games, guys. What are you getting so fucking worked up about? And it's like, because it's your fucking job and you get paid money in U.S. currency to do this. So
it
it's
is
like,
a very funny thing that when
it's
somebody
weird.
is wrong about a prediction, it's suddenly not serious.
Yeah.
But when they're right, then it's something that they kind of carry with them.
Then it's the
like
biggest
a-
thing on
like
the
a-
night. You
like a
know?
little
Yeah.
medal. It's
So
it's a there's a little
Yeah.
it's a little funny how that works.
It's very funny. It's very
But I
funny.
will say, so I don't think the supporting actor basically has a real race in it anymore. I think actor and supporting actress, there are more conversations to have. And especially with supporting actress, I do have to admit that I love that Amy Madigan speech. I thought she was so good up
Speech was
there.
so good.
And it was a speech so good that it made me think like, it would be nice to hear another speech from her at some point. And, I don't think that's like a huge determining factor, but I think sometimes if it's a divided race and you're thinking about some things, like I did really like that performance, and man, if we did give her something, it would be pretty nice. Like honestly, I think that was even a small help to Olivia Colman, when she won, because every time she's on the mic, it was like a tight five that you loved. So I do think that because she's the only nomination, I would be cautious about predicting her, obviously, but that is a performance that does have a lot of passion. And unlike, somebody like Delroy Lindo that we were saying that I think did not do a great job of being up there, she did. Like that is a speech that even though I wouldn't necessarily vote for her in the category, like I would want to see her give another speech because she's that good. And it makes me wonder, it's something to maybe consider within a whole lot of other things for sure. Not the determining factor, but, she's very affable when she gets up there. And I do think personality can make a difference sometimes.
I think them doing those individual targeted Q&As, I think that she had that. She also had the Critics' Choice win at the time thing as well too,
Which made sense there
which
too.
made sense. And yeah, the movie lost its, lost out on other nominations like screenplay and casting and makeup. The makeup nomination still is one that doesn't make any fucking sense why that didn't get in there. But Amy Madigan has felt like a winner, like a groundswell of support kind of winner for a while, and just because the films miss things. But yeah, you're right, Josh. I texted Erik and Sophia when we were watching the show, and I'm like, God, that felt like Olivia Colman. Just where like it's kooky and it's fun and it's hilarious and it's uniquely them, and it's also just, I don't know. You want to see her go up there again, and that can be something that happens and changes in a race. It also could just be an outlier because, like Erik said, it's a popular film, and Gladys is genuinely one of the most popular characters to come out of this film cycle 2025, and she's an internet meme, and people are dressing up as her as Halloween. So maybe it's just a SAG thing. because
They do love memes.
they do
there.
love memes.
I mean, they
The
do.
substance wins the year before are very much like, oh, those are the meme wins.
I mean, honestly, even Conclave. You remember how many
Yeah.
Conclave memes there were
Where like
last
they're
year?
making the photocopies and stuff, and it's all Isabel Rossellini. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, man. Like that's the thing. It's like how much can you take? And this is the overarching sort of narrative of the night: is how much can you take this organization seriously when they've broadened out their scope of people to the point where they've had influencers and TikTokers in here voting for these things. I'm not saying it's everybody, but that's part of the vote here, and it's different than the other guilds that have been a part of this race so far. It is different. It doesn't mean that there's not passion in those speeches and wins don't matter, but the voting itself for those specific categories are different because of who's voting for it. And yeah, the lack of international and the committees that put up for it and the alphabet rule, if you believe that, and also the lack of international vote like films in this competition at all tonight. Like this is not a makeup really of fully of what the Academy is as voters anymore.
I think there
And
is a little bit of a divergence between this guild and the Academy membership. How much it is diverging to make a significant difference, I still think remains to be seen. But yeah, the fact that they had a complete wholesale rejection of any international title, like I don't think you can read that as anything but like a significant step away from where the Academy membership is. And I do
yeah,
think you need to take that a little bit into account.
yeah. Eric,
Yeah. No, I'm just
you're
I'm
just
thinking.
sitting back and thinking.
I'm thinking about Madigan. I'm thinking about that speech and when speeches have an impact and when it doesn't matter, and that you have her and Penn both absolute veterans, but really on the opposite ends of accolades. And
40-year
there's
gap.
yeah, there's
3-year
something
winner
really,
or
really
three-time winner.
kind of wonderful about that.
Yeah,
And yeah, a Madigan Oscar win would be really unusual and unique
a horror, 2 horror
circumstantially.
wins also.
Yeah.
But we're looking, we've already talked for the last hour about a whole season of strange occurrences and possibilities, and that a lot of the wins that are going to come in 2 weeks are going to do so outside of the scope of traditional paths.
Yeah.
So you almost can't really dismiss everything except for Wagner Moura. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
You mean like
but yeah,
Robert Aramayo at BAFTA that you had ranked?
Oh
number
my
5?
God! So they're gonna write in Robert Aramayo, and he's actually gonna.
I'm
win
just
the
saying, I
Oscar.
was there on that podcast, and you very much dismissed Dan about that possibility too.
I did.
He did.
I was
He did do that.
I'm just saying.
Drag his ass,
wrong.
Josh. He did do that shit.
I was dead.
I was
dead
like, I
wrong.
don't know about that. You heard me silent when he said that, Josh.
I was no. I was just. I
No,
was
I-
absolutely a fool, but it seemed right at the time, so I was like, why not be a total
Famous last
asshole
words.
about it?
Well,
that's going to be on my tombstone.
I mean, Eric,
Famous
we
last
did.
Hey, look, I've done that
words.
too. Like, and sometimes I think always prediction is a mixture of looking at trends, but every season is different. And I think especially as the membership gets more diversified and starts to break away from some of these guilds that we've held on for so long, like I think you are going to start seeing more strange things happen like that. And it'll take a leap of faith in order to pull that trigger, but sometimes you might want to do it. It all just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like the Madigan speech in the win, it's made total sense all year. Her misses have made, I mean, like have made a little bit less sense to me. I mean, she wasn't nominated at BAFTA, so that one was a bit of a shock to the system. But she had that Critics' Choice win, and then it went to Tiana Taylor, who also gave a really great speech that night,
Yeah.
and felt like, holy shit, is it Tiana Taylor? Is that the one battle win? And I still think Tiana, weirdly after this, I was still like, I still think Tiana Taylor's in this. I still think
I mean,
Ruby
she's still in it
Usaga's
for sure
this.
because her movie is so strong.
Because those movies are strong.
On the strength of her movie, just in general because of that. That's all.
Sure. She's again top 3. If we're looking, if we're
those
looking
are the
I
outside
would rank her
of
third right now. Yes, I would.
Yeah, she would be third, and then
3 of the 4 acting categories are one of 3 people only, but it could be any of them, and that's kind of the fun thing.
Yeah.
At this point, though, 3 of the 4 acting categories could be coming from one studio, being an absolute domination. Haven't seen since like Everything Everywhere.
They just
with
did at
A24.
SAG, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. And also it could be for 3 of Warner Brothers films too, with Weapons, Sinners,
exactly.
and
it would
if it repeats 4 for 4, which Eric, are you?
What a banner year for Warner Brothers, right? Time to celebrate that studio for all the great things that they did in 2025, right?
I mean, you know what? Somebody should buy them and ruin the entire movie industry. You know what I mean, Josh? But no, we're gonna have a lot more to discuss, I think, over the next couple weeks. Next week when we come back here, we'll be doing final predictions, and that won't be the longest episode probably ever in a while.
It'll be just fine. We're not doing any 5 and 6 hour episodes. So
no, we're not going to do that. But 4.5. I'm just kidding.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe just depends on certain categories and if Eric's got enough coffee in his system for that. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting final couple days in 2 weeks. I'm very excited to see how this all turns out. I think we kind of know where it's going, but it's going to be fun to talk about.
There's enough room to have some discussion.
Not a lot. And I will say this as one last final thing. It's just everybody, I've seen how everybody's acting. I've kind of tried to hold back a little bit as much as I can and try to keep it to private conversations with these guys and the rest of the team. I just got to put this out on paper. For the next 2 weeks, try your damnedest. Listeners, people out there online, try to just do your best to not go into your worst impulses and just let the season go as it's going to go now. Because really, it's out of our hands. The voters have everything. They're going to vote. Those final 3 days
it was
are
never in
us.
our hands. We're just talking about them. We're not voters.
I know, but
we are always on the sidelines.
People have this crazy sense of delusion that that their voice are going to change anything. We don't change shit. We just talk about this stuff. And it's a great conversation. You guys listen to it and everything. But whether you're, just doing it from Twitter or whether you, work for a giant publication, you're not changing anything. The Academy votes on their own set of rules. I was talking with Sophia today about like different years and comps and all this other shit. Voters don't give a fuck about comps. They don't give a shit about like, this, one battle's got to be 1917 to Parasite, or it's got to be La La Land to Moonlight, or it's got to be this to that. They don't give a shit about any of that. They just go and vote for the movies that they like, much like how we do, the 3 of us in critics groups, or we do in our own personal ballots at the end of the year. Like, it really just is that simple. And if it lines up place after place, then so be it. That's just how it is. We'll talk about all those stats and everything, and we'll give you those final predictions next week. So just be kind online and quit being fucking morons. Josh, tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, which is great stuff and very level-headed. And Josh is truly sleeping well knowing that he's going to get Best Actress right. I want to reiterate this. Josh, you get to it can be a normal year for you, man. It doesn't have to be crazy.
The one silver lining
It's
now.
Great. It's so great.
I at least appreciate that.
It was a good Buckley speech too. She did a great job. She's been doing a great job with the speeches.
Oh my God. I was like tearing up when she shouted her out. Oh, that's
Emily Watson. Oh, such a great speech.
I love that one too. Honestly, maybe my favorite speech of hers so far in the season. So you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at JR Parham, and you can find my work at Next Best Picture and AwardsWatch.
Erik Anderson.
Yes.
Same drill. Where can we find you? Yeah. You got to close out and tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, I mean, now that we are in a post-SAG world, I will be hunching down with my final predictions, and some of them are going to be just like a 1 or 2 sentences, and others might be 6 paragraphs of the, ramblings of an absolute
Crazy
lunatic.
woman.
Yeah. So I'm, some of these are going to just go full Aunt Gladys, just like locked away in the damn room. But
Somebody get him a bowl of water.
Oh, God, that sounds so good right now.
Sounds so good.
Yes. But yeah. Final predictions coming. Just keep an eye out.
At awardswatch.com.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, if you're already here,
where can they find you on Twitter and see your ramblings where you've been yelling and making wonderful posts?
Yes. Twitter is at AwardsWatch Erik, my new Twitter. And I guess I'll have to keep saying new Twitter for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. You've been killing it. The going after people and making comments the last couple of days.
Kind of a bitch. I should pull back maybe, but I don't know. Not yet.
Nah.
Exactly.
I don't know, Erik. They've kind of earned it this go around.
I sort of feel like that.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, at Ryan McQuade 77. Just forgot my own handle there for half a second. We're doing this very late at night. You can find all my work at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we have the Director Watch podcast that releases every Thursday. And this week, we will be talking about the life and death of Colonel Blimp. A great film from Palin Pressburger. If you haven't seen it, you've got a couple of days to watch it. It's a really great film. And we're going to have a great conversation on that episode later this week. 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify. Greatly appreciate it. While you're on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It's very important you do this over the next 2 weeks to get those updates because, like Erik said, he's going to have final predictions. There's going to be news. There's going to be reviews, interviews, any stuff that we have late breaking before the season wraps up. Erik is going to have it up on the website, and that's over at awardswatch.com. Next week, we will be back. Episode 336 will be our final predictions of this season. I'll be here. Erik will be here. Sophia will be here. Josh, you going to come along for that one?
Probably not for that
Probably
one,
not.
Maybe the post show.
Maybe
for the Oscars.
You'll be there on the post show. I know
Yeah.
you'll be there on the post show for sure. But we're gonna break it all down and we're gonna give out these final predictions. And it's some categories are gonna be very easy, and some categories, we're gonna need some time. We're gonna need some time because we're, as Frances McDormand would say, Mark Johnson's favorite Best Actress winner. We got some things to say. So with that, we will see you all next week, and thank you all so much for listening. Bye-bye.